Mykonos, Greece is famous for its thatched windmills that you are seeing in Little Venice, which is over to the right in the video. And all the way back, you in the background, you see the cruise terminal. It's a famous place for its warm climate, not only for cruise visitors, but also for people who are visiting on land. It's a beautiful place for beaches, Greek hospitality, and of course, fantastic food. Here's me in the first mate on our day in Mykonos. I think it's a little bit weird, huh? Because you actually see me in a jacket. We had a delightful but short day in Mykonos. In this video, I'll tell you your options as a cruiser, what you can do in one day, some critical things for you to know, and details to set you up for success. And at the end, I'll share with you the things that absolutely could make or break your day on this beautiful Greek island. Hi, we're the Cruise Port Captain Crew, exploring the world one port at a time. After more than 20 years of cruising, we've learned the best port days are usually the ones we planned ourselves. Doing it on your own lets you explore deeper, save money, and truly make the most of every stop. Join us for port guides, travel tips, and cruise know how to help you make every port day count. Check the video description for links to our favorite resources and tools that help us cruise smarter, and maybe they'll inspire your next adventure. Now on to the video. The island of Mykonos is a part of Greece, which I think we all know, but actually Greece is a set of islands and not really one big landmass. So there's 6,000 islands in Greece, but only 227 of them are inhabited. This is a map of Mykonos altogether. And you see it is quite large. Where your ship is going to port is on the left side, and Mykonos is called the island, but it's also called the city as well. So that might be a little confusing. So you can see it is quite big, and that means there are lots of things you could do, but let's go over some basics to help you start your day. With the languages, Greek is obviously the official language of Greece, and the ancient times, Socrates, and all that good stuff. English is going to be spoken in the main tourist area. So you saw in the tourist areas that are going to be in the beaches that are all around the island, and also the area that's considered Little Venice is where you're seeing me right now. But something that might throw you off about the language is that the signs are written in the Greek alphabet. Yeah, that kind of seems like, well, duh, of course. But it can be a little off putting when you're actually there and you're expecting it to look like MYK, and then it pops up in the Greece. So here's just what can you guess what those letters are? What I have in the Greek alphabet there? Okay, I've given you enough time. It's actually spelled out cruise port captain in Greek. So you can see how different it is. Money, euro is the currency of Greece, but and credit cards should be readily available. But if you're going to take a taxi, it'd probably be handier to have euros with you instead of relying on your credit card. Immigration right now, cruisers have no visa required. That's as if this taping, but the EU is moving to an electronic transfer system or a kind of tourist system. They're not there yet when I am doing it now. So you always want to check whenever you're actually going with your government officials. For Americans, it's the U.S. State Department or your equivalent. But taxis are going to be everywhere. So pretty easy to get around on your own if you don't want to do a short excursion. Weather-wise, I'm always surprised that videos never talk about the weather. Weather-wise, you can see it's quite warm, and this is actually fall. This was either late September or early October, and you can see that everybody's still in shorts, and I only have probably a jacket on because I'm from Florida. And people were still getting in the water. It was cold, but they were still in the water. So you can dress very light. You probably, if the heat of the summer, you're probably going to want to wear light clothing, linen, that sort of thing to be as comfortable as possible. But just be prepared. It's going to be warm more than likely, and that's why a lot of Europeans come here to vacation when it's cold. Something else from the that we found out recently, it'll really help. If you're not using your phone's international roaming plan, and you may check into it because it's probably crazy expensive. We have found that there is a great way to install an eSIM card on your phone through a company, Airalo, and I've got the information up there. And it is just as simple as you would think, is that you just install the app on your phone, you hit the app, and it's working here. And as soon as it pops up, you just pick the country that you want to go. And it's usually like, just like $4 for Spain is what I'm looking up. I could easily look up Greek right now, but I'm at Greece, but I'm not going to do it. But and you can also do it by regions as well, so it might be able to cover your entire trip. And we just found we've been using this for about the last year. It's been so cost effective. It's worked well. Anytime we've had any kind of issue, we've been able to troubleshoot it, and they were very minor. So that's something, if you are looking to kind of get away from your expensive plan. And for Cruise Port Captain crew members, that means you. They're offering a great discount for 15% for new customers and 10% for existing customers. And so, just if you don't have something, we highly suggest it. We use it, and it's worked well for us. For this port, it is critical, if you are docking in north of the city, or you are having to tender. Uh, if you if you have mobility challenges where you can't use a tender, then that means, of course, you are not going to see Mykonos. So it's very important that you get that information. Sometimes you can find that information online, or you just have to ask the crew, or you can see it in the itineraries. Another thing is, yeah, like I looked at a couple of cruise lines, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. But they did say whether they were tendering or not, and that's a big thing to your day, is finding out, because it also affects how much time you have. If you either have to travel from the North Port all the way to Mykonos City, or Little Venice is where you're going to, or you're going to tender there. If you tender there, it ends up being a little bit of a wash, but a little less logistics challenging. Questions you want to ask too is, how long are you in port? So I did some research looking into this to give it an idea, because I couldn't remember for us. Because what happened with us is, I was still sick. I had been I'd caught a cold at some point before we got on the ship. So the port before, I just was out. The first mate had to go on his own. So I believe I was still recovering. So we didn't we had a really nice day, but it was quite kind of a short day. So I couldn't remember how long we were in port, but I checked. And let's see, one of the Royal Caribbean ships I checked, they arrived at 7 a.m. and they left at 5 p.m. The Carnival Sunshine, they docked in at 9 a.m. and left at 6 p.m. Port shuttle back to the ship at your expense. I can't remember why I wrote that note. I'm sure it'll come to me later. Holland America. So I found out, like, I could find out that Holland America, they were tendering, and they were there from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. So you can find this information out early, but I know sometimes when I look at cruises, that I don't really look at that stuff, because I'm so excited about the overall itinerary. So what we did, because I wasn't feeling fantastic that day, is we did it on our own. And they're going to tell you if you dock. So we docked. We were on a Royal Caribbean ship, and we docked at the North Port, which is actually called Torlos, but it's all the same. And we walked it. We walked from the port to Little Venice, where the action is. And I've got it mapped out here for you. You're going to hear that it's a sketchy, it didn't have clear sidewalks all the way, so you just had to be cautious. But hey, we made it, right? We're alive. And the reason why is, they're going to tell you that there's also water taxis that you have to pay for from the port to the Little Venice. And that works too, but there were so many people like congregating waiting to do that. we just thought, oh, we'll go ahead and give it a walk. So we walked there and we did walk back. So it was strictly a DIY day for us, and fairly easy day too. But you can do more things too. So that I call that the easy and hit highlights day. That's what we did. Everything that was in our little brochure. So this is the book we use, Forder's European Cruise Ports. Calls. That's a great book because more than likely all of your cruise ports are going to be in here. So that was, we hit the highlights. Again, I wasn't feeling 100% and made it a very easy day. But you can also do cultural and history exploration, and they are famous for their beaches. So I'll walk you through how you can do each one of those too if you just don't want to do the easy highlights day like we did. But just want to give you a sense of the distances too. Other options, if you want to have a beach day, you saw an earlier picture where there was a beach right where we were. So you can, that is the real basic DIY version of it. You could also take a taxi. So many nice beaches around the island. So you can do that as well. This ship's going to offer an excursion to a beach, but those usually end up being just like crazy expensive. Where they'll, of course, they'll drop you at a resort. But we've never done that because we always found like if we were going to go to a beach, we'd rather just do it ourselves and go to a convenience store, pick up some drinks, and have a good day. If you're going to do that, though, you got to be sure you have towels with you from the ship. Um, the other, but if you are in for Greek culture, and why wouldn't you be? It's the birthplace of Western civilization. You could also do a ferry to Delos, which is, or Delos, I'm not really sure which one it is, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but it is a separate island. So it was going to require a little more planning. There are probably ferries available. I didn't quite look into that because, again, we didn't do it, but you could take a ferry, or you can, I'm sure the ship's going to offer some kind of excursion, or you can go with a third party company if that's really what you want to do. But that's going to take all day. It's going to depend a lot on how much time you have in port, because this is supposedly the birthplace of the mythical birthplace of Apollo and Artemis, which of course Artemis has been in our news lately because of the moon project. But yeah, so if that's for you, of course, you're going to see ruins probably throughout your vacation. But if that's important to you, that is a great thing to do. Another option is this. You kind of want to do a hybrid. You don't want to be completely on your own because you'd like to see a little bit more than just Little Venice. I found this tour from Get Your Guide. That's kind of who we prefer to use. We've always had good experiences with them. This is a tour that will take you a little bit more around the island, and it checks some of the boxes that we look for when we book tours. Is that it was 4 hours, so it was short. So if depending on how much time you had in port, you still had plenty of time left over to do other things. The other thing that was nice is that it picked you up from the ship. So if that you'd have to kind of work with a tour operator to see if you tendered where they're going to pick you up. But that saves you some time if you are at the north entrance where Torlos was, and they pick you right up there, and you're just being gone. Thing I wouldn't be so excited about this tour, but this is going to be any tour, is that it does seem like you hop around quite a bit. So you're going to get a good taste of the island, but you're not going to see much, but you're probably going to have some amazing, gorgeous pictures. And then, of course, at the end of if you check out the link, you can see, or, just scan the QR code, you can see a full itinerary. The last stop is downtown Mykonos, so you still have plenty of time to wander around on your own. And those are great things for the day. You've got do it yourself. You can go to the beach if you want a pretty day. If you want to go into antiquities, you can do the ferry to Delos, or you can simply just get off the boat and have a good time wandering around. What can make a day challenging is that if there's multiple ships in port, it is not a big area in that little town, little Venice area. Another thing is that it could be high summer season. So not only are there probably more ships in port, but there are going to be a lot of local tourists or people who are staying on the island in that area as well. It was already kind of crowded when we were there, but in the summer it's just going to be, exponentially crowded. Also, if you're there in the summer, the heat, because there's just not really a lot of shade either. And so those are the things that you want to consider too, to things that you can maybe minimize to make your day better. This gives you a sense of what it looks like. You can see like there's just not a lot of spaces in some of the other photos you saw too. The roads are very narrow, very hard, very bumpy, lots of cobblestones. And this was October. We were the only ship in port. You can see the ship way in the back, and it still was kind of congested to get around. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this little tour of Mykonos and you feel like you've got some good information. So you have a great port day. If you did something different or you did go to a beach, we'd love to hear about it. Please, ask your questions or comments of how you got around, because I feel like we're just a big group, a big crew, and we're all out to help each other enjoy the world. Resources, thank you for our Cruise Port Captain Cruise subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet and you kind of found us by accident, would love for you to join the crew too. And what that just simply means is to hit that subscribe button. It's free for you, but it certainly means a lot in YouTube land as we are a new channel. Other things are down in the description. And whatever you do, enjoy your time in Greece and make life a bon voyage. I'll see you in the next video.